Boom, shakalaka boom. We're back. It's hour number 2 on the Clay Edwards Show, your daily dose of reality radio with Clay Edwards and Shaun Yurtkaran. Hey, guys, reliable rental equipment. Look, all my DIY warriors, that's do-it-yourself for those that don't know. I didn't know initially the first time I heard DIY, so I assume if I didn't, surely other people didn't. At least I hope. Anyway, all my contractor friends, all my DIY warriors, all my do-it-yourselfers out there, if you got a project, whether it's around the house or a job site, and you need a piece of equipment from as small as a lift all the way up to a backhoe, bulldozer, or rollback dumpster, they got you covered at Reliable Rental Equipment. Maybe you need some outdoor lights because you're going to be working on a project at nighttime. You need some diesel-powered Taylor lighting systems. They got all of that available. Again, they got all your lifts available. And right now, they've got a 10% discount on everything, rollback dumpsters and heavy equipment, 10% discount. And if you live within 10 miles of their location right there at the corner of Meadowbrook and North State, you're going to get free delivery also. Take advantage of that. If you get a rollback dumpster, you need a crew to help actually clean up the lot that you're doing or whatever it is you're doing, they can provide that. So you're not having to find standing outside Home Depot trying to find a bunch of people looking for jobs. You ain't got to mess with none of that. You ain't got to do none of it. Also, if you rent a piece of heavy equipment and you don't know how to operate it, they have operators that you can get at daily rates from them. Save a little money and use a good locally owned rental equipment store right there in Jackson. Reliable Rental Equipment. Shop them online. Reliable Rental Equipment, ms.com. All right, Shaun. Let's see here. Let's check out the Guns and Gear text line real quick. Oh, yeah. Hey, by the way, that breaking news about traffic, it's a suicide. Oh, that hasn't happened yet. It's an attempted suicide. Apparently somebody's trying to jump off, I'm guessing, the Lakeland Drive bridge.
Okay.
It would, yeah, I think looking at the picture I saw, it would be the Lakeland Drive bridge.
Jumping off into 55?
Yeah.
Oh, ow.
Well, this is going to sound insensitive, but
no.
There was a bum there yesterday that was flipping cars off that didn't give him money.
Yeah.
Maybe it's him.
Yeah. I know.
If I got to pick somebody, the entitled bum that flips cars off that don't pay his toll.
Clay, are you the type of guy that the guy's like going to jump and you're like, go ahead, do it, man? Like you're like, yeah,
do it.
You're like, rock on with your bad self.
Either do it or find Jesus right now.
Yeah, one of the things.
Let's do one or the other.
Yeah,
be a better, productive human that gives to society, not just takes, or jump. Clay don't. I'm not going to play this false sympathy thing with people.
You're like, do like Van Halen said, jump, right?
Look, and 99% of the people really feel the same way, but they're scared to say it because everybody feels like, no, I got to say, no, man, don't do it. The world needs you. This life you have, no life at all can't be worse than the life you have, or no life at all can't be better than the life you have. I mean, all those little things. And
I'm glad you brought this up. And I don't want to make light of anybody committing suicide. I think it's horrible, and people go through terrible things. We all have gone through just horrible times in our lives. So that's not, to make light of that. But I always wondered, this is a question I got for you. Speaking of the guy standing on the interstate, like if you commit suicide, isn't that like if you're really in that situation, it's something like almost you do privately, right? That's what I've always noticed. Somebody like kills himself in their house or whatever. But if you're doing it in a public forum, is that an attention-seeking thing, I guess, or like what do they call it, a cry for help, or?
I wonder if there's any stats out there that distinguish how many, or let us know how many quote unquote public attempts at suicide.
That's what I mean. Yeah,
actually follow through with it. Mm-hmm. And to me, I feel so bad for anybody out there who's lost a relative to suicide.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying.
This is a tough conversation, but I'm just going to be, again, I tell you all the time, all I can be is honest and tell you how I feel about stuff. I think it's the absolute most selfish thing anybody can do is kill themselves, unless they're in really bad medical shape and they just want the pain to be over. And, look, I think we should. I think we should have different end-of-life care options in America. I do think assisted suicide should be a thing.
Sure.
For people who know they're going to die and don't want to play the waiting game.
And I'm not making somebody's mental status, like the mind is a complex thing. You know, things that happen to you and they're so horrible and so, just things that you just can't deal with. And I get that.
Well, I guess my point with this is, I think, people that do it privately, and then they put that on a family member or somebody that has to be the one to discover them.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's so selfish. That's so short-sighted. Don't get me wrong, jumping off a bridge. I actually, ironically, heard a story yesterday. I was getting my hair cut, and there was a constable getting his hair cut there at the same place, and he had told a story about a lady they had just had to evict from a trailer out in Rankin County.
Yeah.
This has been a while. This wasn't nothing recent. They evicted this lady, and within a couple hours, he gets a call on about a jumper on I-20. And they had already jumped.
Yeah.
And come to find out, it was the lady that he had just had to evict from that trailer.
Really?
Yeah, she just went out straight up and just jumped off the dang bridge.
Like at the stack or something?
No, in Rankin County somewhere.
Okay.
I'm not sure exactly which bridge, but yeah, didn't. I said, did she want to get hit by a car or anything? He was like, no, she had jumped on a part that maybe I guess so the stack kind of makes sense.
Oh.
But I don't know if it meant a stack. Anyway, neither here nor there. Lady, back-to-back days I'm hearing about people jumping off bridges.
Man, I tell you what, that's also like, I don't know about you, but for me, like, that kind of we were talking about heights at lunch yesterday. I remember my dad's got this thing where he can't drive over bridges at his age. It's kind of hit him in old age where he has to go to therapy because he just can't drive over. So I have to go down there and drive him over the bridge to Slidell to the Sam's Club to buy all his liquor when I visit because he wants to make his liquor run for a month, And so like that just seems like a terrifying way to kill yourself is to jump. I was driving over the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco several years ago, and when I did that, going over to the this redwood forest over there, and I was reading something when I got back to the hotel about people that jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge, and I remember driving over it. To me was terrifying enough, because it's so high and all that stuff. And I was like, God, man, that takes some nuts, to just jump off the Golden Gate Bridge. Like, I don't know, just like I can imagine, I don't know. I think I'd go deal with whatever was really bothering me before I did that. I guess.
Man, I'm not saying that again. If you got a family member that's going through this, or you've gone through this with a family member, you probably just want to change channel right now.
Yeah.
I just come back at 8:25. We'll move on to a different topic. I just can't see doing it, man. I've been in some dark places. I mean,
Me too.
It's crossed my mind.
Sure.
Not ever to the extent of picking up a gun and putting it in my mouth or anything like that. But I lived a very suicidal lifestyle for a while. But there was times, in the deepest, darkest recesses of my drug addiction, where I thought, would my daughter grow up better without me here? Would she be better off without me in her life?
Yeah.
And it was about sometime, and that was at my deepest, darkest stuff. But I never answered that question necessarily. Like,
well, we're glad you didn't.
Yeah, and
Chokeway's not, but we are.
It was within that couple of days after that when I was at that darkest point. I remember my dad coming in the house where I lived, and I was passed out on the couch. It just gotten in bad shape, and my dad I wake up to being slapped, and he said it's this or your family. Make a decision right now. And obviously, which one I chose.
Right.
The family. I said, you know what? He caught me at the right moment.
Good choice.
Good choice. And I was like, and I never turned back. And I never had to go to a rehab facility or anything like that. I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I had the ability to remove myself from that group of people I was hanging around and the drugs and it didn't help. It didn't hurt that all of them went to jail simultaneously too. So it kind of left me out here on an island, which was the best thing. And I did fall off the wagon one time after that. I went to a Celebrate Recovery meeting at a church in South Jackson.
Oh, God.
And met a dude there, and we went and got high. But that was it. I was like, oh, you know what? That's where I came up with I can do bad all by myself.
That just reminded me of the, you never seen that movie with Will Ferrell when they're ice skating?
Yeah.
And then he goes to like the sex addict meeting. And then after he meets a girl and
same concept, man.
Same concept.
Right? And what's funny now, like me and that guy was going through the same battle. And him and I are friends today. That I met at that Celebrate Recovery meeting. And this is no knock on Celebrate Recovery either, by the way. This just tells you how screwed up Clay Edwards was.
Yeah.
But what came from that was, I'm just going to stay home and get through this. And I've got a family there that watches over me good and ain't putting up with no BS right now.
Mm-hmm.
And my case was obviously different than a lot of other people's.
Yeah.
And, so luckily I was able to get on the other side of that. And then a couple months clean and sober, I got into the car business, and the rest is history.
And so it all worked out.
It did.
I mean, that's good. I mean, and that's what I'm saying. Like, you don't ever know. Nobody knows what somebody's going through, like everybody says. And that's true. Like, you don't know what somebody. So I'm not trying to make fun of the guy on the bridge or anything like that. I know you aren't either. But we're also like, wait a second, dude. Like,
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, if it's the guy that was on the bridge yesterday flipping people the bird.
You're okay with that, dude.
Yeah, I mean, you ain't going to be missed, dog.
I mean, I'm okay with the dudes that were shooting out the car on Atkins jumping off the bridge. To be honest with you, like, they want to draw, like, we could just line them up. On the bridge, that's I'm good with that too.
Can we put it on pay-per-view? Start paying out somebody. We could pay for some college educations.
And if you don't get hit by a car, like, you get free, like, you get your charges dismissed. We could play that game, kind of like a Squid Game. Yeah,
and you don't get hit by a car,
your charges dismissed.
Yeah,
like that's like actually, we might make some money off that. Like, actually helping the city. The city's got to pay back that $900,000 that we were about to talk about. I mean, so like if you did that, if the jumping off the 55 bridge and you don't get hit by a car, but you're saying pay-per-view, I think we can make. I think this is a good idea.
I like it.
I like it. I like the idea.
So let's talk. But we got a few minutes here. We can run over just a little bit because I want to stop and start this conversation. The city is, speaking of taking out the trash, the city is being fined $900,000 or up to $900,000 by some branch of the Mississippi Department of Environmental Quality, basically, over the trash debacle. Now, you figured that in with the $1 million screw up on Riverside Drive.
Yeah.
The penalties there. Let's just round it up for the sake of the radio show. To $2 million. The city is now having to spend that it ain't got to spend.
Yeah.
Over incompetence. Nothing. These ain't accidents. This is incompetence. As a citizen of Jackson, how do you? I mean, because you think about all the potholes.
I drive on Riverside every day. Yeah, I think about it every day. I'm like, God, this cost us $1 million because Chokeway's an idiot. Like, that's what I do think about. I'm just saying that for the radio, but I'm like, I go to Riverside. Renee, my friend, I always go over there, and I have to go down Riverside, and I think about that every day when I drive on Riverside. It's like this cost $1 million because somebody didn't pay the bill on time. Like even when your phone gives you notifications like when your bills are due.
Yeah.
Like, does the city they got something like that? Like, that just notifies them like, hey, you got to pay this.
Yeah.
But they didn't. They didn't do it. Like, that's what cost $1 million.
$2 million.
Yeah. Well, now with the trash thing,
the trash is different.
And the trash was something that was, with waste management was actually working well. The only thing in the city that was actually working well. And then Chokeway said, "Well, I'm going to mess that up." And then now it's costing $900,000. I mean, we need to do what is the calculation of how much we've saved by using Richards or whoever else you wanted to use. Like, is there a way? I mean, I'm sure, like Kingfish, I'll put him on that. Like, I'm sure he could figure out what the costs have been since they've done this to the city, which I'm guessing, just straight guess, that it's cost us more money than if we had just continued with waste management. Yeah.
Yeah. If you figure out the cost of turning the Metro Center into a transfer station.
Yeah.
And just all the chaos involved, all the personal nonsense, and there's no way that this whole experiment saved the city money.
Yeah, I mean, and if it did, how much was it worth all the heartache that everybody's gone through? Like, I mean, it was the savings enough to justify all the trash in front of my house, my neighbor's house, and everybody else's house, and having to take it to this transfer station and all this mess and the how we looked stupid to the entire country, right? Like, was it worth that? Like, the potential loss of investment in the city because of that? Because if you're a business, you're like, do I really want to go move to the city that doesn't pick up the trash?
No,
I mean, like that's what you're thinking.
The black eye.
Yeah, all that stuff.
Black eye on the city.
Was it worth, like, was the savings worth that much? What's that? What's the saying, Clay? Penny pound. I can't remember. You know what I'm talking about.
Was the juice worth the squeeze?
Yeah. I mean, like, was it worth it for what did we get?
Nothing.
I mean, when you look back,
well, I mean, it was worth it to the guy orchestrating the chaos.
That's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, it was worth it to him, I'm sure. Like, I mean, maybe he's got a Rolls. I don't know. I'm just alleged. I have no idea. This is not a statement of fact, but I'm not about. Maybe he's getting a Rolls.
You have to assume that he benefited. He had some dog in that. Again, I'm saying assume. I'm not stating this as fact.
We don't know. We don't know any of this. We're just
Shad White, where you at?
Yeah.
Leave Brett Favre alone. And come take a look at this, please.
Leave Brett alone, Chad. Come on, man.
I mean, I'm over that. You have to assume that he fought that hard and screwed up all that garbage. I want somebody to fight for me like Chalkway did for Richards.
Yeah, right. Someone to love you like the way Chalkway loves Richards.
Yeah.
Like that kind of love, right? For that. I mean, yeah, just when just now that we're talking it out, when you think about it, like, what did we get from this? Like, it was supposed to be, he made the argument that there was going to be this benefit that everybody's going to have lower cost or more efficient service or whatever it was. But I mean, what is it now? 18 months later? I guess it started this time last year, but it was in the fall of 2022, I think, it actually began. So what have we gotten? Actually, cost overruns. I'd like to see those numbers, what that is. And I don't think, I have to be an accountant to already, in my mind, calculate it. This cost us more money than if we just stayed the course with waste management. I'm
telling you, think about, who did benefit very much financially from this whole thing? People who rent rollback dumpsters.
Yeah, they made some money.
I mean, it was a boom to their business.
Sure.
There's always a unintended benefactor.
Yeah, I'm sure they're really happy about it for that reason. So, but the
neighborhoods were renting them. Like my parents' neighborhood out there in South Jackson, Byram area, they had to rent one and put down in like a cul-de-sac area. And I was like, how quick before everybody else knows that's here and fills it up to the? I mean, it was over. It turned. Of course, they turned nasty because the more you dump them, the more it costs. And anyway,
I mean, so it was no benefit to the actual city. It was just
and it lost another $1 million.
Yeah, and
900,000, whatever.
And like I said, not including the Riverside. So we got $2 million, trash and the road that you were fixing, but then you didn't want to pay your bills on time. Yep. And you got a late fee, essentially what it was.
I asked the question in our conversation yesterday. Well, how does a state make a city pay this? How does the state collect this?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
This fine, and the answer I got was every city's rules are different.
Sure, like how's the state gonna? You can't squeeze blood out of a turnip. What are you gonna do?
I would think you could withhold their tax dollars.
Yeah, I don't know how you
do
that.
When the state tax commission collects, because you pay your sales tax to the tax commission, then they give the city their portion.
Yeah,
just hold that out. I mean, that should be the way you do it. I mean, the state ain't got no problem holding out mine and your paycheck if we owe them tax money, wiping out our bank accounts. That's what they ought to do to the city.
I don't know how they get the money. That's a good question. I know you asked that at lunch yesterday, but I just couldn't.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that's how they should do it. We'll be right back. Welcome back into the Clay Edwards Show with Shaun Yurtkaran here on a FA-FO Friday. Hey, look, every now and then even I FA-FO. And we have topics and we discuss things that upset folks. The suicide conversation a minute ago, I got some colorful text messages. And, hey, look, I'm not necessarily going to apologize for talking about an imaginary person. Well, he's not imaginary, but he's just most likely not the person jumping off the bridge. We're just saying. It's one of those topics that you're not allowed to have any variation of opinion on when you talk about it. We're all just supposed to say, that's terrible, oh my God, end of, how did it get to this point?
Yeah.
You're not allowed to call them selfish. You're not allowed to say it's just a attention-seeking adventure. You're not allowed to do any of that. Well, not to use a catchphrase here, but breaking rules when necessary. Somebody needs to have this conversation. Am I the most sensitive, articulate person to do it? Hell no. But we will be the ones to do it. It is very selfish to go jump off a bridge publicly.
That's what I think. And again, not to where he gets mad. I'm not making fun of anybody that wants to commit suicide or
no, not at
horrible.
all.
Like it just, but I think like a lot of that has to do with the public display of it. I mean, I really do believe that.
Well, now you got people who did not ask to see any of this in traffic. That may end up having to see a guy jump off a bridge.
Yeah,
you may have kids in the car who are now going to be scarred by possibly seeing a guy jump off a bridge. And I know the last thing they care about is what other people think, but obviously that's exactly what they care about is what other people think.
Yep.
So I think it's an extremely insensitive thing to do to other people, the law of unintended consequences.
The moral of the story is just don't kill yourself, everybody. Though, just don't do it. Like,
get some help.
Yeah, get some help.
I mean, easier said than done. I get it, but there's all kind of phone lines out there for suicide prevention. We've had a lady on, I think, what is the mental health crisis phone line? 711, 811, something like that. There's a mental health crisis 911 type number. Learn it, use it.
Look, I mean, you can mess up in life and be successful. Look at Chokeway. Yeah. I mean, you could, like, you don't have to, like, everything you do does not have to be successful. And I think the mayor's an example of that. He's not killing himself. He's happy. So there you go. I mean, it's how could you mess up more than that?
Man, I've got close, long time people. I grew up with friends who committed suicide. It's a sad situation.
Yeah, me too. I've got several close friends that actually killed themselves. So
I know one guy. It happened in the house that his parents still lived in, that he grew up in, and they finally had to move out of it. Just because they couldn't walk in it without thinking about it all the time.
Sure. Yeah.
And it doesn't change the fact that I love that guy and I always will, but I think it was still very selfish to do that. And that had to be the memory that your parents deal with every time they walk into the house.
No, I mean, I had the same thing. A very close friend of mine, he was also in the Marines. He went to Iraq. I didn't go to Iraq, but he did, and he came back, and he killed himself, and it was horrible. And it was we felt the same. We were angry, like, because he had he had such a really bright future going on, and I mean, it was just a terrible thing. He did privately, of course, but it was but I felt the same way you did. Me and our friend, we've all been friends since high school, and we're really, really angry about the whole situation. Like, why would you do this to everybody? But it's a horrible thing.
And look, this is a very complex conversation, a topic anyway. I know that the amount of military suicides and stuff out there. And look, we've worked with these groups to help raise money and awareness and all that stuff. But sorry, I mean, look, I have a button in me that's broke when it comes to giving people sympathy that want public sympathy. It's the same people that post passive-aggressive stuff on Facebook. I'm mad, don't ask me no questions, knowing they really want you to ask questions. It's people that stand on top of a bridge waiting for you to talk them off because they had no intentions on jumping.
Or the biblical quotes on Facebook, or the other thing that I cannot stand is the I deserve quotes on Facebook. Because I always this view of life that, like, I don't deserve anything. I'm just lucky to, things that happen, thank God for it. That's always my kind of, like, life view. Yeah. Like, I don't feel like I deserve anything. Like, we don't deserve anything. But I hate the I deserve or you deserve better. No, you don't. Like, you're lucky to be here. Like, be happy with that.
Life is really hard.
Yeah, life is very hard. Exactly.
We're all going through.
I think that's why you and I get along so well, because we kind of like have seen that so much, and how difficult things are to, like, you just got to keep moving. I mean, it's like that one day we were talking about that scene in Rocky Balboa. Remember, you and I were talking about that, how we both, like,
how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward.
Yeah, life is not all sunshine and rainbows. It's not about, how hard you hit. It's about how hard you get hit and you keep on moving. And that's, I showed that to a kid that was working for me a year ago, young kid, and I said, he was like, what do you think about life? I was like, I'm going to show you a scene from Rocky Balboa. Yeah. And I said, I know it sounds funny, but I said, this sums up how you need to view the world and to make it, because it's not, this wonderful place. I mean, it is. There's parts of it that are wonderful.
It's the best advice I've ever seen in a movie.
Me too. Anywhere, actually. It's so funny. Whoever the script writer that came up with that just summed it up so well. And if anybody watches, it's in the it's the one where Rocky's old. Like, it came out in 2006, and he fights. That. It was like that video game fight, and then he actually fought the guy. Yep. And there's a scene from it that just really, really sums up the way your attitude should be, I think, or at least I hope that it should be, where you're not about I deserve anything. You're like, life is hard. I just got to absorb and keep moving.
And I closing the topic of a guy jumping off a bridge. Let me say this: if it was not just for an attention seeking, he would walk up there and they would jump. Yep. If you've held out long enough to try to get people to talk you out of it and all this other stuff, I can't get behind drawing up too much sympathy. And I don't know what's going on out there. This really just kind of started out talking about the asshole, excuse my language, that was flipping people off yesterday. Not having a clue who's actually up there. But again, if you walk up there and you go into this this beg me not to do it stuff, Like, come on, man.
I think it's because the bums make you bad if you're in Jackson. Like, someone can be really aggressive.
Yeah.
You know, I think I told you about the one other day that I was at the, just gas station next to Kiefer's. And I go to that gas station every day. Mm-hmm. If anyone wants to kill me, I'm usually there. Yeah. And I like the guys that run it because, they're an immigrant family. And of course I am. So I just identify with like people immigrants running businesses, right?
Shout out to the Singh family that owns the gas station right there next to where I get my haircut in Pearl. Walked in yesterday. The dude, I forgot his first name. The dude recognized me. I took a picture with him. So he listens to the show every day. Immigrant dude, obviously. And we just hit it off, man. Great guy. I just wanted to mention
You always talk about him. Yeah. Like, and so like I always go in there and I'll drink coffee and, shoot the crap with those guys. And there's this bum that hangs out there and he was like, hey man, do you think you could, give me some cash? I was like, man, I don't have any cash because I don't really carry, I don't carry cash. And he's like, we can go use the ATM. And I'm like, yeah, well, they also have a job application in there, and you can fill that out. I said, if you fill it out, I'll get you some money from the ATM. And the guy was like, no, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, because, but I thought that, I was like, the audacity of you asked me to go to the ATM. Like, if you want me to make the effort to go to the ATM to give you money, like, could you go in there and, like, work? Like, I don't know.
Man, God bless you people that have the sympathy to deal with this and to put aside the root cause of their problem and kind of ignore that to help their current situation. God bless you. You're better than I am. But I've watched these people almost ruin businesses. I told this story on my live stream last night because I was talking about the guy flipping the bird and stuff. We had the nightclub on Capitol Street. Well, a lot of times, and this is back in the early 2000s, right? Mm-hmm. And look, this is going to sound like I'm talking about race stuff, but I have to for this conversation. The context matters. Man, unless you grew up in Jackson and you grew up around downtown Jackson, man, you ain't seen bombs.
Yeah.
Really, like you ain't dealt with that. So you get these little white girls. Mm-hmm. They were coming from the suburbs.
It makes them nervous. Is what you're trying to say.
Man. It makes them because they've only seen a TV version of.
Where it's like me and you walk down to like, yo, get out. You were like kicking them to the side.
Yeah.
We're so used to it.
Get out of my way.
I
ain't got crap for you. I don't care. I don't give a crap if your company credit card ran out and you got your family with you traveling and you can't get gas. I've heard all this.
It's all the story, right?
Yeah. None of that matters to me. Get out of my way. You've been here for a month. You need to find another job. Anyway,
we should write a book of bum stories.
Oh God,
there's
really only 3 of them, and they just tell it a different way.
Yeah.
Well, let's just say let's use my bar on the corner of Capitol and Farish, for example. Man, we were doing 1,000 people a night, so you could have to park almost up. I mean, we had the whole block encompassed. You could be parked over there by the 4th Avenue, is what it's called now, or down by the convention center, and have to walk up anywhere. We owned downtown there for a while because there was nothing else down there.
Sure.
And so little white girls from the suburbs that have never really been down there and seen bombs and stuff. They lived a quasi-sheltered life. Man, that is a intensely scary moment for them when their only experience is what they've seen on TV. Like these people kind of clubbing little girls upside the head and raping them in alleys. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Well, what ends up happening? They don't come back.
Yeah.
They're like, I can't do it. Now, we got the safest club in the world, but I'm not downtown security. Sure. I'm not Capitol Police. There's only so much I could do in 2002, 2003. Mm-hmm. So I watched him ruin business.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. So I was working out the other day, and some friends of mine live around that Fondard Park. Okay, and they work at my gym, and they were saying, "Hey, the Capitol Police guys." They're like, I'm like, yeah. And they're like, there's all these bums hanging out at Fondard. They're trying to make Fondard Park into like a concert venue, and like a place for like a bunch of social guys. You know what I'm talking about? Fondard Park is there, and the north side on north, kind of North Fondard. And they're like, can you get Capitol Police to round them up? I was like, I don't know if I can do that, man. But I said, I get your point, like why you don't want the bums there. He said, well, they're breaking into there's a stage they've got built out there, and they're breaking into the stage and ruining it, because they've been having bands out there. It's kind of cool. And they're like, yeah, but it's like, we can't get rid of these bums, and the city's not doing anything. Like, they're just sitting out there and they're ruining, what we're trying to make into a good neighborhood, which I get it. I mean, I was like, well, I don't know if I want to be on the bandwagon of like loading up bums and, call Bo Lucky up. We're like loading the bums up, but
I will.
But yeah,
I'll be a part of the band. I want to say this, and we got to take a break. I actually said this off air, and somebody a JPD officer just texted this in. He goes, hey, remember the female student that walked out of, was it Murrah?
Yeah.
Walked out of Murrah. She walked over, just walked out of class, went and jumped off the bridge. Very tragic.
That was horrible. That was horrible.
My radio show that next day was one of the most emotional shows I've ever done.
I remember that was really, really tragic.
Terrible situation. But you know what she did? She walked right over there. She jumped. Didn't give nobody a chance to talk to her. Mm-hmm. She had made her mind up. That's what she was going to do. And I mentioned that off air. I didn't know if I wanted to bring that to air or not.
Sure.
And I'm not saying go girl because she didn't stop him and allow somebody to try to talk her out of it. But I'm just saying when somebody's made their mind up and they're going to do it, they usually follow through and do it. These people who stop and try to let you talk them out of it, they're doing it for attention. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't give them the attention and try to talk them out of it, but let's not pretend that it's not for attention. That's what I'm trying to say.
No, I know exactly what you mean. I know, and it's a tough conversation because people probably say, like, "Why are you guys saying that?" But no, I mean, I mean, I don't think you're wrong here. Like, that's what a lot of it is.
Yeah.
And I mean, and you're trying to make attention to something that is tragic, that is a horrible thing that people do deal with, and you're trying to like make attention for yourself. And I don't know. I mean, it's just like when people write, Clay, it's like this. It's like when somebody writes their entire like relationship history on Facebook. And like they want you to feel like I'm like I don't need to know this. Like,
and then if you ask anything, why are you in my business? You put it out there. We got to take a break. We'll be right back.